Hey, and welcome to today's episode. I almost didn't press record and I almost didn't record this episode because, if I'm being totally honest, I am in a lot of feels around some things that have been happening over the last week that have really been hurting my heart, hurting my feelings, and bringing up a lot of sadness. But I decided to go ahead and press record and talk about this with you today because if I'm going through this, I know that you've probably been through it. You might be going through it right now, or you'll probably experience something like this in the future. So, a big part of my message with everything I share, whether it's, in business and life, all of it is really about transforming our wounds into a gift. And that's exactly what this episode is about. So, when I was younger, when I was younger, I was super sensitive. I had a lot of young experiences where I had trauma. Someone close to me tried to commit suicide and had an addiction. And because of that experience at a very young age, I became hypersensitive to everyone else's feelings. And the superpower of it, the gift in that trauma and those experiences from childhood allowed me to become super sensitive and in tune with everyone around me. You put me in front of anyone, I can feel in probably about a minute exactly what's going on inside of their body, in their heart. I can see past experiences. My greatest gift is my intuition and my ability to feel what's going on with other people. And that's been really helpful in my life. It's really supported me with my business, with helping people, transformation, all of that, and being in tune. The flip side of that gift, because there's always a flip side to the gifts that we develop, they usually come from a pain or something, right? Is the flip side of it is I am so in tune with other people that I have always been the person that I like to make people feel good. It's who I am. It's who I've always been. But as a result, in these experiences of being human, sometimes I forget about myself. And also in that process, one thing that I really care about is bringing my best to people and making everyone inside of my coaching containers, inside my community, and people that I meet feel safe, feel seen, and feel accepted regardless of if we have different beliefs, we come from different backgrounds and all of that. So, why am I sharing this? I didn't do a specific hook at the beginning of the episode. I didn't talk exactly about what we're talking about today. But I just want to share the story of what happened. So, some of you may know I moved to a new town, a new city about 10 months ago. I moved across the country to be with my partner. We did long distance for a year, and I was at the point where I was like, I just don't want to do that anymore. And because I work online and because I'm adaptable, I'm like, okay, I can move there. And he proposed to me, and I've been here for about 10 months in this new location. So I'm living in a smaller town, in a town where I don't really know a lot of people. And as someone who is I would say 50-50 introvert extrovert, it works for me because I work with my clients online and I go traveling when needed for speaking events and for work events. So I get that fix when I'm out traveling. But recently I was internally just thinking about if I'm going to stay here, at least for the next year or so, before we decide if we're going to be moving back to BC or moving somewhere else, I was like, you know what? I should probably start to make some new friends. And I'm mid-30s, and whenever I'm traveling in different parts of the world, I make friends pretty easily. And I tend to be likable. I'm just going to go out and say it. People tend to like me. I don't really give them a reason not to like me. I'm a kind person. So, anyways, there's a gym that I go to. And I was invited to a gathering the other day on the weekend. So I went to this gathering and, there was a couple people that I knew. And I just started to like get to know some of the ladies. Really, my intention for going to this gathering was, you know what, I should put myself out there and meet some friends. And basically, what happened was I was introduced to this one woman that showed up a bit later than me. And I guess she knows everyone there and has grown up in this town. And from the moment she walked in, she looked me up and down and she was so mean to me for 3 hours. And I kind of brushed it off. I was talking with other people and I just was like, okay, she's clearly not my kind of people. And I just continued to continue on with the people I was talking to. And I had a really great time with the people I was connecting to. But over the 3 hours, she made a lot of little comments about who I am, who she thinks I am, what I do for a living. And there was one point where we were sitting at the beach and she like scuffs to a friend. She's like, how do you know this girl? How Why is she even here? And not long after that, I left the gathering and I did connect with a few of the women there, and they were so kind. And I was walking back to my vehicle, and one of the ladies actually apologized for her friend and was like, wow, you must have really threatened her. Like your presence must have really threatened her because you don't know her, you've never met her before, you have no history. And that was totally out of line. And I was driving home that night and I just felt really sad in my heart because I felt like I was back in high school. I felt like I was back in high school where like the mean girl, says and does whatever she wants and treats you like shit. And I haven't felt like I've been in high school for a very long time. I grew up fast. I got out of high school. I traveled. I did a lot of different things and I've made a lot of new friends. But it brought me back to this space of feeling just not safe in my body. And I felt really sad. And I felt really sad for a couple different reasons. I intentionally went to this gathering because this space of vulnerability, oh, I like to make some friends where I live. I like to put myself out there. And I felt totally rejected. I felt like I was being bullied. And if it was in any other circumstance, if it was just me and this woman, I probably would have like brushed it off or said something and then I would have continued on. But I was in a new environment that I had never been in before. And I just didn't feel comfortable really addressing it straight on. So it brought a lot of sadness to me because it makes me sad that people want to intentionally hurt other people. And I know that hurt people people, but hurt people hurting other people hurts people who are genuinely just being themselves. And I think that's something that I'd really like to be a part of changing in the world is um, creating environments where people can be themselves and there's a zero tolerancy for bullying. There's a zero tolerancy for not being kind to people. And that's what I have inside of the containers and the communities that I host. So, anyways, I was feeling pretty sad that night when I came home and I told my partner about it and I was like, hey, listen, this is what happened, et cetera, et cetera. And a couple days go by and I go to the gym. I go to my regular fitness class, and this girl comes up to me and she says, hey, are you Deidre? And I said, yep, that's me. And I'm putting on my shoes and I'm just like, oh gosh, like I don't really want to talk to this woman. And she's like, hey, I should have been rude to you the other night. And what happened for me was something shifted inside of me where it was like, no, that's not good enough. You're sorry that you were rude to me. That's not good enough. So I calmly put on my runners and I just said, oh, you think you were rude to me the other night? She's like, yeah, I should have been rude to you. And I said, okay. I said, I just want to be really clear. that I have a zero tolerancy for disrespect. I don't let anyone talk to me that way. I might be new to town. I might not know everyone here, and maybe you grew up here, but under no circumstances am I going to allow anyone, regardless of what you do, who you think you are, and so forth, treat me that way. And then I said, I don't even treat people that I dislike the way that you treated me the other day. I said, it wasn't a mistake, it was a choice. You continued to say things to me and dismiss me. And basically, you were trying to bully me for 3 hours. And I said, if it was in any other situation, I would have called it out right away, and that would have been the end of it. And then I said to her, we're not friends, and we're not going to be friends. And I don't associate or speak to people who are mean. I don't associate with people like you. Thank you for showing me who you are. And then I said, I'm just here to work out. She's looking me in the eyes, and I can tell this woman has never had someone call her out on her bullshit. She got up, she grabbed her water bottle, she went up to the trainer, and she left the gym. And this is her hometown gym. This is like her stomping grounds. And then I got up and I did my workout. And I came back the next day and she wasn't there. And that's okay. And the reason I'm sharing this story with you today is because it felt really good to stand up for myself. I personally, at this time in my life, I feel like I've been going through an initiation around respect and boundaries. And that was one of the things that has come up for me in the last 7 days. There are a few others that I'm not going to get into in this conversation, but I wanted to share this conversation because it makes me really sad that we live in a world that accepts bullies, that doesn't stand up to bullies. And if anyone were to talk that way to or about anyone in a community that I was in, I would call them out on it right away. And bullies need to be called out right away. Otherwise, you're basically telling them it's okay for them to bully you and to disrespect you. And so I've had a couple situations in the last 7 days. I don't have any drama in my life, but I've been feeling really sad about it because it's bringing up this little version of me that feels really unloved and really not important and really dismissed. And I wanted to share this story with you because these are the types of things that if we sweep them under the rug, we are a part of the problem. And what I mean by sweeping things under the rug is if we are in an environment and someone is bullying someone else, if we don't stand up to that bully or call them out, we're basically saying their behavior is okay. So this is a call to encourage you to stand up to bullies when other people are bullying people in front of you, number one. Number two, if someone is disrespecting you, call it out. Stand up for yourself and don't tolerate bullshit. Because the more you tolerate, the more you're going to have to tolerate. And although I'm a very kind, forgiving, compassionate person, I know that this woman needed to be called out and she needed to hear what was up in order for her to have a mirror moment for her. And even though I was feeling sad, and I still feel sad about that and a couple other things that have happened in the last week, that maybe I'll share in a future episode. I'm proud of myself for using my voice to say no, using my voice to stand up for myself, to value myself and say, actually, nobody treats me this way. Not you, not me, not anyone. And really looking this woman in the eyes and calling it like it is. Do I have compassion towards her? Absolutely. Do I feel bad for her in a sense? I'm not sure. Um, I feel bad that she has gone through whatever she's gone through that has given her permission to treat people poorly and think that that's okay. But the spiritual side of this is spirituality and love comes in a lot of different forms. And I want to just break that down for a moment here. Because I used to talk about how spirituality is about honoring everyone's spirit. So essentially, bringing kindness and love and compassion to everyone. And I have love and compassion and kindness. But when somebody is violating your boundaries and going out of their way to harm you, it's okay to stand up for them. It's okay to say this doesn't work. It's okay to be a mirror and say absolutely not. And that is an act of love because this person needs to have a strong voice, say something so that she can look in the mirror and see how her behavior is not okay moving forward. And like I've said, I've had two experiences in the last 7 days that have kind of rocked me a little bit that really had to do with people just going out of their way to be mean to me and people who don't even know me. And it really hurts my heart. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because we have to stand up for ourselves. We have to stand up for what we believe in. We have to stand up for what's right in the containers and communities that we have. And we also need to know that just because someone isn't kind to us or is mean to us, that it has nothing to do with who you are and what you're about and your truth. It has to do with who they are, how they see themselves, and what they think is okay. So me not internalizing these people's actions is a practice that I'm currently working on, which is why I almost didn't record this episode today because my default setting, if someone is not nice to me, is like, oh, something's wrong with me. I need to be better. That's called internalizing, a situation, but also shame. Like, oh, something's wrong with me. So I'm in this space of having a tender heart. I'm feeling vulnerable. I'm not feeling my best. But regardless of how I'm feeling, I'm still showing up to bring my vulnerability, my experience, my wound, my story to light, to be of service. And that's a big part of what this conversation, this show is really about. It's about bringing the wounds, bringing the stories, bringing the stuff to light so that it can be healed, but also so that other people can learn from your experiences, which is why I'm so passionate about helping leaders and upcoming leaders get visible and put themselves out there in a bigger way. Because when we share our stories, when we get on stages and podcasts, and when we really share what we've learned from the process, we give other people permission to do the same. So, my hope for you from this episode is that it touched you in a way where it resonates or can be supportive in the future, or is a reminder to honor yourself, your boundaries, your vessel, and bring love to yourself. And that sometimes when stuff happens, it's messy, it's not fun, it can be uncomfortable, it can be painful, but it's not about what happens to you. It's about what you do with it and how you show up with the experience and what you do with it. So, sending you lots of love. If you're enjoying this podcast so far, I would love to invite you to write a review and share it with a friend and let us know how it's resonating. Big love. Mwah.